So it's been about 1 month since I've had Jordan Power on the show. And if you remember, Jordan was my guest, and we talked about his quantum shifting and two examples, two incredible examples. Jordan was sharing with us how he actually had ulcerative colitis diagnosed by the medical community. They said they needed to take out part of his intestine. They were going to give him a colostomy bag, and that's how he was going to have to live at least a good part of the rest of his life, or a good part of his life. And he just said, "No, I'm not going to do this." So he went into this deep meditation, quantum shifting at 528 hertz. And Jordan said that after a certain amount of time, his ulcerative colitis was totally gone. And then, if you think that was pretty cool, he shared with us how he was on a trip to Bali. He was in a tent, and this woman in the tent just said to him, "You're here for the music." And he said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she explained to him how he had already died in a previous life, but he's back now, and he's here to bring music to people. And Jordan, mind you, had not really had, he was maybe had a little bit of music knowledge and so forth. But from that conversation, Jordan actually became a professional musician. I want to make sure you understand this. Jordan did not play an instrument. He did not sing. He did not know how to write music before this. But in a short amount of time, Jordan became a professional musician with, I think, I'm not sure if this is exactly right, but 1 million views on Spotify. But Jordan, welcome to the show. Correct me if I get anything a little bit wrong here.
Well, not to be pedantic, but it's 5 million. I just, I just, you left me an opening. I was like, here I come, sounding arrogant.
No, not arrogant at all.
That was all correct. The one thing I would add, which you touched on, is I didn't even know I could sing. That's the funniest part. When we started making music, we were like recording songs in the studio, and then my producer looked at me and he's like, "Can you even sing?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I need to know how to do that, right?" And I can sing well, and I've gotten better, but that's another shift I've done where my voice was good enough to write songs, get them on the radio. But the last month I've done 2 new shifts that I want to update you on. The first one is I've drastically improved my voice. I went to 2 vocals lessons, and it was great. I was learning some techniques and stuff, but I said, the better thing is just to quantum shift to the new reality where I'm a much better singer than I am now. Was able to achieve that. The second one I was able to do is I had a neighbor in my condo building that was an absolute nightmare. Was playing music, was having parties, was like getting in fights with the wife, like it was a whole thing. And I was getting so angry. I complained to management. I was like, I personally went up there and had a conversation. And then I remember just everything I've taught you on being on your show and the other shows I've been on. I was like, wait a minute, I'm approaching this wrong. I'm energizing the situation that is making it worse. And so what I did was I meditated for 2 days to create a reality in which they had moved out, the person. And that I didn't have to, the circumstances don't matter, right? Not of my concern. I'm just shifting to the reality in which they don't exist. I don't know why they would move out. I don't know if they went to Europe, whatever. And I went from hearing them multiple times a day blasting rap music to I haven't heard them for about 35 days. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen them. It's the craziest thing. And so yes, those are 2 specific examples that I've been up to, and I know you've been up to some stuff as well.
So wait a minute, I just want to make this really clear. I want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So you pretty much came into through quantum shifting. You no longer have ulcerative colitis. You became a professional musician with no prior knowledge or experience.
Yeah.
And now you had like a horrible neighbor who was just disrupting your life. And through 2 sessions, that neighbor has not been heard for many days.
Correct. So and for a lot of people that were listening, I had some people reach out after your show. Some people wanted me to coach them metaphysics. I've had that happen lately. And I'm open to that because not really even for the money. I just like helping people. They can go to graysmokemedia.com, just email me. But yes, I realized in a lot of this, and I've kind of gone through iterations since I talked to you. That's why I was excited to talk, because I'm also evolving every time I learn new things and see what I was doing wrong. The meditation is great and the visualization is great to allow you to live in the end. But we talked about last time the affirmations, the meditation, all this. It's really more your state of being that you want to get into. You just want to live like you're already in the new reality. For example, if you wanted a Mercedes and it was already in your garage, you wouldn't be constantly meditating and thanking and be grateful for the Mercedes. It'd just be, yeah, of course, that's it. So what I did with him was I just kind of, when I started hearing the noises and stuff like that, I kept being like, oh, it's not a problem for me because he's moving out and I'm not going to hear from him anytime soon. And then I would do that multiple times a day. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, I'm so grateful that he's not here. I don't hear him. And then it just became my reality, which is the craziest thing because it was a constant, I was being inundated with constantly these kind of disruptions. And so that's largely what we talk about more is the quantum shift to the new reality. Just live like the new person, live like you're already there and ignore everything else that you encounter.
Well, let me share several things with my quantum shifting that I've attempted at least since we last talked because I promised you that since our last little episode together, I was going to go ahead and meditate at 528 hertz every day for 30 days, and then we get back together. So here we are. So Jordan, I originally went into this meditation thinking that I was, I'm taking Japanese lessons and I'm not really fluent or even conversational, but that was my main goal. I wanted to say to myself, I speak Japanese. I'm conversational. I'm fluent. That was number one. But also, I hope it's okay. But during these meditations, three other things actually came into my mind quite frequently. So is it okay to be thinking about four different, like multiple things in one meditation session? Is that all right?
So those are deliveries from your higher self. So what you're doing in the meditation is first thing is you're regulating your nervous system. So that's on a physiological level. That's what you want to do. The second thing is when you quiet your mind, quiet the thoughts, right? We're not the thoughts. We're the awareness behind the thoughts, the consciousness. So when you quiet the thoughts, then eventually your higher self can deliver you things. So when you're getting these little gifts or these nudges, while you're in the meditation, that's the higher self actually communicating, like, hey, David, go here, do this, meet this person. So that's what we really want to get into our present moment state. We always want to live from the present moment. Once you get into present moment state, you're connecting with source, universe, God directly and your higher self down, which is much more powerful than your limited human mind. So I think what you were doing is you're probably spending the first 10 minutes in the meditation getting into a theta brain state. And as that happens, the thoughts like clouds start to go away, the irrational ones, the fear, it's not real, the shame. And what's happening is you're getting the nudge from the higher self saying, oh, Dave, you want to go here to this new quantum reality? This is the path, this is the nudge, and meet this person, download this app, go to this website, sort of thing.
Well, let me share. I'm going to share with you all four of the things that kind of came to my mind quite a bit during these meditations. But the first one, and I'm just using the Japanese thing. Like most of our viewers and listeners are not really taking a language necessarily, but this is just an example of something that you can do. But not only that, maybe a struggle or a hurdle that somebody gets into. Because here's my struggle, Jordan. I went into these meditations and like you said, 528 hertz, and I'm thinking to myself, I speak Japanese. I'm fluent in Japanese. I can converse. I can speak to anybody in Japanese, and that's great. And I was doing that. However, let's face it, we all have to come out of that at some point, and we have a real life. And in my real life, if I said to a native Japanese speaker, "Hey, I speak Japanese. I'm fluent in Japanese," and they start speaking to me. Well, I'm like, so what do you do? As much as I wanted to say, yes, I'm fluent. I can speak. I couldn't do it, and I couldn't keep up with somebody. So that was a true dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
However, the meditation, I want to get your feedback on that because that was my biggest struggle, my biggest problem. However, once you tell me about that part, your feelings on that, I do want to share with you something that I do believe the meditation did point me to, which I think is a real positive. But I'm wondering, what about my struggle? Like
So,
again,
so here's the nuance. When you're meditating, like you just mentioned, 528 hertz, right? We're kind of opening up the heart, like we mentioned last time, which is your tuner to a new frequency reality. Are you meditating in a way that like I want to speak it, I hope one day I will, and I really want to get there and it's going to be great when I get there? Or were you meditating like it was this exact moment happening that in the meditation? Because those are totally different frequencies.
right. And I remember what you said when we originally spoke on the previous episode. Like, no, I was meditating that I speak Japanese. I'm fluent now. I can converse. I mean, that's the way I was during the meditations. I speak Japanese.
Right.
But
So, yeah, the way you can kind of achieve that to make it present day would be like some things you could add would be a conversation with someone you know, and they say, "Wow, your Japanese is amazing. Wow, your Japanese is fluent." That's the kind of conversations you would hear. Maybe an email saying, "I can't believe how great your Japanese is right now." That would put you in the present moment to be like, "Okay, now I can speak it now." I believe I know what's happening, and this is why the monks seclude themselves, because you can only shift so much at a certain time. I mean, my music shift was pretty drastic because I was pretty much operating in like a delusional state where it had already all happened and I was almost just kind of irrationally going into it. And so I shifted very quickly. But you know, your reality is basically your consciousness projected out and reflected back, right? So you're constantly still going to look to the 3D world for cues of, let's say, I'm fluent in Japanese. You're going to keep looking for it. And the reason the monks seclude themselves is they know they have to eventually look into the mirror. They have to look into the reflection out to see the proof, the external social cue of like, I'm fluent in Japanese. And so what's going to happen is with you is because you're newer to this, you're going to get micro shifts. You get a little confident boost. Maybe the words will come to you quicker. Maybe it's easier for you to read certain things, but you'll feel that kind of fluid. It's pushing you forward in a way that you didn't quite have before. And that's your evidence of the first shift. The problem I have with the meditations in general is this, is that if it's already yours in another reality, if it's coming to you, if you're grateful for it, if you're already living like you're in that reality, you wouldn't need to meditate to visualize you being that thing. You would just be it. You would walk like it. You would talk like it. You would send emails like it. You would just be like, yeah, it's my reality. And a lot of the meditations that we do are actually coming from a subtle place of lack that we don't quite realize because we want the car, but if we already had the car in our garage, we wouldn't be doing a meditation for it. We'd just be like, yeah, of course I have the Mercedes. That's just who I am. And so the more I've kind of digged into some of this stuff, it's the visualizations are helpful, but they always have to come from a place of almost like if I was wanting to live in a mansion right now, I'd be sitting in this apartment and I would be in my living room and I'd be kind of looking at it like it was already, the pixels were already shifting in a way that it was already a mansion. That's the way I would do it. I wouldn't do it as like a dreamer, like, one day when I get there. And that's kind of one of the nuances that I was making an error with, and from talking to certain quantum shifting experts and spiritual gurus, they were like, no, 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 just you have to live like it's move like the new character. And it's very difficult because we're so moored to the external reality because we don't realize that it's malleable to a degree, right? We see it as sort of this fixed, static, this is just the way it is. So I think in your specific situation is you're probably getting movement, but don't beat yourself up for the degree of movement that you're getting, because once you do that, you remind yourself you're back in the old reality, point A instead of point B. And so like with my music and stuff, when I wasn't getting it to move, I stopped checking the numbers. Because if I was already living in 1 million listeners a month and I was at, I don't know, 130,000 or whatever it was, it would be irrelevant. And so the greatest manifestors and ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, all these people, they don't care what's currently reflected to them from their senses because they're already in the new reality.
I want to comment on that in a second. I want to make sure I get back. That's really an important point you just made. However, I want to, with the Japanese, I just want to share one more thing with you. Then we'll move on to the three other things that I was meditating to, or at least came to my mind during the meditations. So early on, it might not have been the first day or two, but I'd say within the first week of this 528 hertz meditation with Japanese, it's really a little bit strange. So Jordan, somehow there was some type of shift, and the universe did point me to this app on my VR headset that I've got, which I don't really use for the meditation necessarily, but it's shared with me somehow that hey, there's a Japanese lesson that you can take in VR, and it's like you're immersed in this classroom and you're speaking Japanese. So and I started doing that, and I've been doing it now for probably the last 3 weeks or so. That probably took a week or so for this to come to me. But that in itself, again, I'm not, and I know I'm in real life here. I'm speaking to you. I'm not going to say I'm fluent, but that's actually helped me quite a bit. So
Mm.
again, you talked about like maybe like there are you notice like little shifts here and there. Well, that was a not only a little, but I think maybe a pretty big shift that started right after I started this meditation. So it definitely pointed me to something that I didn't know about at all.
Yeah, so you were visualizing moving from point A, which is, your current to your future, but time's not real, it's not linear, but you're just shifting your awareness. So you're visualizing, and the higher self says, well, I know the best route to get you from point A to point B because I'm infinitely more intelligent than you'll ever be because I'm drawing from source energy, God, etc. So it's saying, knowing you and knowing you think you got to do it this way, I'm nudging you to do it this way. And so the way that we get to certain new realities, I've seen it with my music, it's more circuitous than we thought it would be. We thought it would be sort of go here, here, here. And then, we see movies, we think that's the path. My path to getting the people that I've met, the song titles, everything that's happened is extremely winding. And I've just kind of like gone with it. And a huge part of all this is detachment, trying not to control it, trying not to understand how it will happen, trying not to wonder when it's coming, which is lack energy, just settling in. But, we're so traumatized by our life, our ego, and everything we go through, is we think that if we constrain it and we hold on tight, that'll make it come. And that's actually the worst way to move towards that. So it's really about how long can you go through your day and take a journal entry and say, how many times am I in low vibration emotions? How many times am I fearful? How many times am I angry? How many times do I have shame? Do I have guilt? And once you start to get those emotions out of your body through, energy work and different things you can do, you feel it move quicker and easier.
Getting back to what you just talked about a little while ago about checking your stats on Spotify, because you wanted to get to millions, but you didn't have millions yet, so you decided that I'm not going to keep obsessing over these stats. Well, a few weeks again, this was into my meditation a little bit, but and one of the things that kept coming to my mind during my meditation was, how can I make my podcast better? I mean, I'm trying to reach as many people as possible that are having mental health issues and want to learn about microdosing, microdosing psilocybin or microdosing LSD or whatever. So I was walking into this grocery store, not even meditating, not just doing my business, just going in, getting some stuff. And just as I was entering the grocery store, Jordan, this voice, or whatever you want to call it, came to my mind very, very, very clearly. And it said, David, stop looking at your fucking stats.
Mm.
And then it went on to say, do the right thing. You know exactly what to do. Then the stats will come. And it knew that because I sometimes do obsess over stats. We all like to look to see how many people watched a certain episode, our trends. And it basically said, hey, stop looking at the stats. You know what to do. You know the right thing. If you do the right thing, the stats will come. So that was
Right.
like really amazing.
Yeah, and well, two things. First of all, we're so, we more our external view or our internal view of ourselves to the outward world, right? But it's everything I'm saying is like it's all an internal game. So I'll give you an example. Why a lot of celebrities go up, you see them go up really fast and then they crash, particularly in music. This is actually what's happening when we talk about from a reality creation perspective. You know, reality is projected out from your headset meat suit. What's actually happening with these celebrities, there's one in the UK, I believe his name's Lewis Capaldi. Great singer, really had a meteoric rise and then just completely crashed. What the celebrities that last, it's because they have a strong internal view of themselves. And so what happens with someone like him is he doesn't really think he's a star, and he grew so quickly he never saw himself as that when he was younger. So his internal view is like, I'm just this guy that got lucky. So he becomes extremely moored to external validation. He needs the outward projection to validate him over and over and say he's great and he's a star over and over. And then what happens is, it goes up and down. That's just the universe. And as it crashes, he really crashes, and he really crashed out. He couldn't perform. He had mental health issues. And I think a lot of that is he was so into, I need this feedback loop going on from the external world to tell me I'm great, to tell me I'm perfect, to tell me I'm wonderful. I need that. And when that goes away, I'm in trouble. Versus you see someone like Serena Williams, her dad says when she was 6 years old, she always knew I'm the best in the world, and I'm not going to ignore everything else that says that I'm not. And she stayed all the way through to be like a superstar. And so I think in your situation, it's two things. First of all, if you're trying to be the guy who has, I don't know, let's say it's 150,000 subscribers or whatever number you want to get to, you have to move like him. And he would ignore any voice in the head that's like, I really want to get my numbers up. I really want to get my numbers up, because he's already in the new reality. So if he's in the new reality, he's cruising. So that's one part of it. And I think also that voice you say, it's your higher self telling you to basically let go and to detach from outcome. You have to be okay now with your life and who you are internally and your podcast for you to move into the new reality. The more you constrict the energy and try to make it work and force it, it's not working. That's what's going to block you. And I struggle with this too. I'm not sitting here like I'm Gandhi. I struggle with a lot of this stuff. And I was checking my numbers and I was doing all this stuff. But the second I just had fun with the music and had fun with what I was doing, it's easier that way. But, don't beat yourself up. You got to have self-compassion, because the way we're built and the way we grow up, we're not taught any of this stuff. We're not taught hermetics. We're not taught about the laws of polarity in the universe. We're not talked about, no one's talked to us about quantum mechanics. Like, we just kind of grew up in this matrix, let's say. And you're doing well. I think that you will see more and more shifts, but you have to keep catching your thoughts. When the thought comes in, just, it's fear, doubt, oh my God, it's not working. Just breathe it out. Just a couple breaths, get back to the present moment, let it float by like a cloud, and then start living as David 2.0.
And the third thing I want to share with you, this might be, I don't know whether it's the most amazing or not. Again, it's something that just came to my mind during this meditation, is my personal health. And that's very important to me. And somehow, Jordan, actually, this just happened within the past couple of days. And remember, I've been meditating, I've been doing this for at least 30 days now since we last spoke, but just in the past couple of days, this, I don't know whether, you'll tell me whether this is some type of quantum shifting or not. But again, this voice that I heard very, very strongly said, David, you reached your peak age about 2 to 3 years ago. And so you're old as you would ever get 2 or 3 years ago. Now, from at that point, now you're getting younger. Now, here's my question. Now, it sounds great. And honestly, I swear to you, I feel that actually could be true, because I look back at my health a couple of years ago, and I really feel like I've done things over the past few years. And I honestly feel, I'm not just making this up for the show or to tell you, I honestly do feel better and younger than I did 2 or 3 years ago. However, again, and you're going to probably yell at me, but getting back to like my reality.
I would never yell at you, David. I would speak firmly at you.
but okay. In reality, David Maddo's brain is not thinking, oh yeah, I'm a couple of years younger now, and in a few years I'm going to be even younger and younger and younger, and soon I'm going to be 15 years old. I mean, that's not the way my brain is thinking. However, what I was told that I reached my peak a few years, a couple, 2, 3 years ago, I do believe that that actually happened. So tell me what I'm thinking. Tell me what happened to me on that one, Jordan.
I mean, well, they've shown that some of the meditation can reverse the telomeres, which is essentially associated with the aging. So you're not as constrained as you want to. I mean, I don't want to get too woo-woo on a certain level, but the David that you know is a projection down from your higher self into this reality. So you can start to see David as more has more vitality. You can see yourself as sleeping better. You can see yourself as digesting better, all the different things, and that will start to shift in that reality. I mean, we are limited to a degree because this meat suit, this avatar that we're in, has an expiration date, right? So I'm not saying you're going to live to 300 years old, but there are gurus in India and stuff like that that easily lived a great life till about, I think it was 120, 125. And a lot of the times it was just they refused to entertain anything in their consciousness associated with aging. One of the things that I have noticed since I started doing this stuff, just little things, is I never get sick. I don't even like even minor sick, headaches and stuff like that, is because when I feel like it's entered my consciousness and I'm going to get sick, I was sick for 18 years. I just basically shift in the same way. I live in the state of being as I'm healed, and tomorrow I'm going to go for a jog. So it's the same sort of concept, right? So when you catch yourself, I mean, you're not as limited as circumstance or by circumstances that you think. Obviously, you're in this body and you have a limited amount of time, but anything is truly possible. If we think about what we talk about me on the music and health side of things, whatever you think of yourself, whatever you project out into your experience from your headset, let's say, will be reflected back at you. So some people have gone through, I've seen on YouTube, like physical changes. They've changed the way their hair looks, their face looks different to a degree. They'll listen to subliminals and their nose will get smaller. That's not necessarily that there's an objective reality where their nose got smaller. It's that what they projected out to themselves in their matrix is a smaller nose. So if you think about this, the extent of where you could go with this, I mean, people manifest lottery wins, they manifest healing their cancer, they manifest all these different things. The limits of your conscious, you're not really that limited by your consciousness. So as you expand more and more, you'll start to realize, catch yourself when you're like, oh, God, the traffic, I'm never going to get a parking spot. Catch yourself and just kind of do what I do as I go, oh, it's my reality, my rules. And I start to adjust back. And so don't think you're limited to a degree.
I love it. How about from this new knowledge I've gained today, at least? How about I'm going to check back with you, and I'll give it another 30 days, and we'll see where we stand. And I hope to report some really interesting and cool stuff to you.
I honestly think I think you're starting to shift in a really beautiful way. It's just, it takes a lot of time to shake yourself out of your old ways, your bias, your ego, your patterns. I think you're killing it. I think you got it. I mean, I'm as much as I'm a little more advanced in this than a lot of people, and I've been able to help people. I still struggle on a daily basis. I'm not like going through life really easy. Life is way easier than it used to be in a lot of ways, but I think it's a constant struggle, and it's a constant struggle with your thoughts. It's your thoughts. When you can stop the thoughts, when you can stop energizing the thoughts, when you can live in the present moment, that's when heaven on earth will start to come to you.
Really interesting. We're going to get back to that after another 30 days. However, Jordan, when we just chatted for a few minutes before we press record here, you said something to me, and I hope I get this right, about you did some type of a combo something, and I don't remember exactly the next word or how that works. So, but something that it sounds like it was pretty darn profound. Tell us about that.
So combo itself is not really technically a psychedelic. It's more of a detox agent. And so in South America, Amazonian tribes and whatnot, they take the venom from a frog, and what they do is they make little burns in their skin. So using a stick with some fire, just make little dots on their skin, apply this venom to them. And then usually in about 2 minutes, you will get what feels like a bad case of food poisoning coming on. It is pretty intense. You will feel hot. You will feel your heart beating pretty quickly. Sort of a feeling like if anyone's ever done a niacin flush, very similar sort of feeling, almost like your heart's beating in your head. And then not always, but there's usually a purging. So it's usually about a 15 to 20 minute period where you are purging, vomiting or the other area. So yeah, I did it for 3 times. The first time I puked for about 15 minutes. I had fasted, so it was not your traditional vomiting, which was nice. The second time I don't know how to sugarcoat this, but it was the craziest bowel movement of my life. I did not puke. It was a demon from hell that came out of my body. It was, I don't want to get too graphic, but that's what happened the second time. And then the third time was also some vomiting. But what you're getting with this is so tons of science behind this. If people want to pop it into ChatGPT and learn about it, there's a ton of different peptides in there, stimulating your liver, cleaning out your liver, your immune system, all different cool the peptides are crossing the blood-brain barrier. I was reading all about them the other day. I didn't know the specifics of the science behind it, but spiritually what people believe is before you go on any psychedelic journey or you want to kind of expand more, you would do this. And it was incredibly cleansing. The next morning when I woke up, I will tell you, it felt like I was like 12 years old again. You know that feeling where you just pop out of bed and you're just ready to tackle the world? And I was like, I missed that. I haven't seen that for a long time. My immune system, my vitality is great. A lot of people say they do it, and for 5 to 10 years, they don't get sick at all. So it's just kind of a shock to your system. I'm hoping to kind of do some more psychedelics and stuff. So I was using it as more of a cleansing thing. And it's a little bit wacky, but I know your audience is higher consciousness, open-minded. But, when you Google it, it tells you that you're going to die because one girl died in the past 10 years of probably, I don't know, millions of people that have done it. And so, of course, there's those kind of horror stories on the internet. So I can only give you my anecdotes. But yes, it is fascinating. And it is fascinating to admit to someone that you paid someone to put frog venom on you to puke. It's it's kind of almost embarrassing to say that.
So you just answered my question. I was going to ask you whether, first of all, I wanted to know like why you did this, like what brought you to do this, and secondly, my other question, which you just answered, was, is this the type of thing you did on your own? Are you touching the burning thing to your arm, or are
No.
you're going to some type of a I don't know if shaman's the right word, or some type of facilitator that's doing this for you?
Correct. There are people that are, specifically trained in this. There's a lot of things about like disinfectant and stuff. You don't want to necessarily be, just doing it yourself. Some people do it to themselves, but I also am doing it with a person who is not only just doing this in a way of cleansing, but we're doing a lot of integration sessions. It kind of contradicts my 5D consciousness thing I told you earlier about if you constantly identify someone who's healing, you will stay in that reality and you won't shift properly. But I also do believe there is an argument for some of the shadow work and some of the trauma that we've stored in our bodies our whole lives. There's a great book, The Body Stores the Trauma, or something like that. It's a very, very popular book. Your audience can find it. And it's talking about how basically we store everything in our muscles. And since I've been doing the combo, I've been doing these integration sessions in tandem with it because I'm trying to figure out what I still have stored in my body and what I'm trying to release. And I've had really dramatic oscillations, ups and downs, positive, negative, extreme anger, extreme fear, almost irrational. And this guy has really helped me say, this is normal. This is what you're releasing. Some people in the middle of the combo session, they cry their eyes out. They scream into a pillow. You're releasing stored energy, stored trauma in your body. And so that's been kind of, I wouldn't advise doing it without someone who's skilled in integrating these emotions and popping them. And we call them like bubble popping, where you address them. We realize that they weren't real in the moment. We take the moment in the past and we figure out, how did it actually serve us? It was brutal being in the hospital, but man, now I'm higher consciousness and I have gratitude for every day of my life. And that's the beauty that came out of it. We don't focus on the negative. We don't dwell on the negative. We find the positive, and then we come back to present day awareness and go, wow, look what that built. Look where it led me. And that's how we're reframing these moments in tandem with the medicine.
And how is the combo different? Because it comes from a frog. I think you said it comes from a giant monkey frog. Is that right?
Yes. So I believe I was just looking it up for you. I don't want to give your audience the the wrong information, but it comes from the giant monkey frog of the Amazon. And it says here that indigenous tribes have used it traditionally in ritual healing and hunting preparation, and modern interest is focused on its bioactive peptides. The science is still early and incomplete, but here's what we know about the peptides. And if they go on ChatGPT and kind of ask it, it's going into opioid peptides, affects adrenal stress response, improves blood pressure, cortisol release. It goes into kind of all the antimicrobial, antifungal activities going on. So there's a lot of, not a lot of people are doing these kind of trials, let's say, on the frog, but there's a lot of science behind it. You're not just picking a random frog and putting it in your body. There's a ton of peptides in it, and you do feel it. I mean, the second it hits your body, you're like, something very bioactive is going on here.
How is that different from the psychedelic that comes from the frog venom?
So that would be your 5-MeO DMT. That would be from your toad. And so that's what we call 5-MeO DMT is also Bufo. It's the world's strongest psychedelic possible. They also call it the God molecule. And I haven't personally done that. I'm hoping to do that very soon. I think one of the things I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of your audience struggles with, is we don't want to kill our ego, right? We need it to function in this 3D reality, but we certainly want to quiet it. And one of the things about the DMT is you can start to quiet the ego. You could do it through mushrooms, you can do it through LSD, all these different things. You're quieting the monster mind, right? And so what I'm hoping to do with this session of Bufo is to kind of obliterate the trauma that I still have, and the fear, and the moments where I try to shift into my new quantum reality, and the ego tries to keep me safe and pulls me back and goes, here's all the times it didn't work, Jordan. Here's why it won't work. Here's what society says. Here's what your parents said. Just goes through all that. And what I'm trying to do is quiet that mind and get connected to the higher self. Very much like you when you were talking about, I was served this little nudge from my higher self. Go to this app. Try this. The secret to my podcast doing well is to detach and stop caring and just enjoy the moment. And these are kind of the moments that you're being pushed, but the ego is very strong, and we're very programmed to fear and anger, especially by the media and everything we consume. And so that's what I'm trying to kind of quiet through all this. You can do it through meditation, but they say 5-MeO DMT is kind of like the bazooka of the ego, where it's coming in and just kind of like obliterating it in front of you. And a lot of us really need that shake.
So, do you think the 520 meditation that you've been doing for quite some time now has actually pointed you towards the combo and the bufo? In other words,
Yeah.
if you weren't if you weren't doing the meditation, you wouldn't be doing this because you wouldn't have maybe known about it or wouldn't been pointed to that.
Well, I think I've been going on sort of, they call it your timeline, when things sort of drop into your reality, whether they're people, things, ideas, all of them are meant to teach us something. We all have a person that comes into our reality where they go, God, I could have done without that person. But the question is, what did you learn from that experience? And for me, the 5-MeO and the combo and all these things and the people that I could do it with, they didn't drop into my reality until I was ready, until I had expanded my consciousness to the level where it's like, okay, you can do this now, and I think I had hit that, and it's sequential order of like, okay, you learn this, you did the mushrooms, you did the LSD, you got so far, now we got to deal with this. And for me, there's two parts to the manifestation for people. The first is assume the new state of being. So assume the David that is fluent in Japanese, whose health is great, and he's actually aging in reverse. Great. I actually don't have a problem doing that. I've been able to manifest great things in my life. Some people have a problem with even doing that. But the second is the thoughts. Now what happens is, as David moves to the new reality, the thoughts get louder. They go, no, you're not. No, you're not. They start fighting you, and they're going like this. And the second part is, if you can master part one, the second part is, when the thoughts come, we do not energize them. We realize they are not us. We are not them. And we breathe and we let them pass. And as we let them pass, and as we stop energizing them, they don't manifest. And also, they get quieter. because you are moving into the new person. You're in a more present state. And it's the present moment awareness that's so important for people. Think about it now when you're cooking dinner tonight, just chopping the vegetables, whatever. Take 10 seconds and just be extremely present in the knife going down, in just the sound of it, being grateful you have the food, and you'll be amazed at like, God, there's such a peace in this. This is who I am at my default state. This is what I am. I'm unconditional love. I'm source energy. I'm a being. I'm a light being, and you'll feel it in that moment. And the second your mind goes to past, future, or your cell phone or your TV or anything, you're gonna be like, oh God, I lost it. And it's a constant struggle to get that, but it's work, and it's paying off for me and a lot of people. So those monks, that's what they do all day, but not all of us have the luxury of doing that all day.
Well, you've told me a lot, and I've got some homework to do, and I definitely want to report back to you in another month or so when I do more of this 528 meditation and hopefully see some more quantum shifting. And I also want to hear back from you if and when, it sounds like not if, but when you do this 5-MeO-DMT Bufo. I want to hear more about that. So I'm going to give you some final words to entertain us and let us know what's next, and then we will take it from there, and we'll have you back if that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to update you. Yeah, if you want to check out my music, it's Jordan Power on all platforms. And some people have reached out to me from doing your show and a couple other shows. They're like, "Hey, can you coach me through this metaphysics stuff?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, sure, but I'm not Jesus. Like, just warning. I'm pretty good at this stuff, but they can go to graysmokemedia.com. Just email me. That's my marketing firm that I run on a daily basis. So if they want to get in contact, I don't have a lot of availability to help people. I'm sure they're going to glean a lot from just our conversation, but if people want individual questions and stuff like that, I'm happy to help people. And yeah, I don't want to act like I'm a guru yet. I've done amazing things and been able to manifest amazing things, but I'm still battling like all of you guys with my ego and my doubt and my fear and my low vibration emotions. And I think for a lot of people, I'll just say, just be more compassionate with yourself. We've all been through a lot, and we're all trying to be our best selves, and it's a little difficult in the beginning because you don't really know how reality works. You don't really know that you've actually been creating a great portion of your reality your whole life. You thought it was happening to you. And suddenly you realize, oh my God, I'm playing a role in this with my thoughts and the way that I'm acting. And once that's the first step. So just be compassionate with yourself if you're only there. But I really do think that like anyone in your audience, circumstances don't matter. I think they can do anything. And I think they just have to start seeing themselves as greatness and seeing themselves as abundant. And reality will come to them. It's not just spirituality, it's quantum mechanics. I mean, I was just listening to a great interview with Dr. Hoffman on Diary of a CEO podcast. I think it's almost at 3 million views now, talking to us about what our reality is and how it's created. And it's a really fascinating interview that kind of builds on what we're talking about.
Jordan, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your honesty. Like you just said, like, hey, I don't know everything, and I'm going through this just like you are, but I can probably try to help you with some things. That really means a lot. So thank you so much for that. Thanks for sharing your whole story, and let's have you back pretty soon, and we'll continue this conversation, my friend. Take care, and
Sounds good.
thank you so much, Jordan.
Thanks.